any supermarket in London, Paris, or New York, and you'll find yourself staring at a cathedral of chocolate. Shelves upon shelves, glossy wrappers gleaming like jewels. There's the familiar lineup: Mars bars, Kit Kats, Cadbury, Ferrero Rocher in its golden armor. Some brands pitch luxury, others fun, still others ethical. A growing number even come stamped with comforting labels: Fair Trade certified, Rainforest Alliance, sustainably sourced. Chocolate is marketed as happiness itself, wrapped in foil and sold for $2 or $3 a bar. A harmless indulgence, something you don't need to think twice about. And yet, at the very bottom of this glittering global pyramid stands a farmer in Côte d'Ivoire, or Ghana, machete in hand, children at his side, harvesting cocoa pods under the tropical sun. He'll sell his beans to a local buyer, and by the time the supply chain does its usual magic through traders, processors, and multinationals, he'll walk away with just a sliver of the final value. For every $2 bar of chocolate sold in London, a farmer typically sees 10 cents. That's not a mistake. It's the system. And it has been this way for more than a century. Cocoa was never African to begin with. It started in Central and South America, sacred to the Mayans and Aztecs, before Europeans developed a taste for it and turned it into a global commodity. Colonial powers transplanted cocoa to West Africa in the late 19th century, where the climate and cheap labor suited them. Fast forward to today, and the colonial template hasn't really changed. Cocoa farmers in Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire, who together supply about 70% of the world's beans, remain stuck at the bottom of the ladder. They grow, they harvest, they sell raw beans. The wealth and branding power? That lives elsewhere, in Zurich, London, Chicago, or New York, home to the multinationals and commodity giants who buy cheap and sell dear. Big cocoa, as insiders call it, is dominated by just a few names: Mars, Mondelez, Nestle, Ferrero, Lindt, Hershey. Add the commodity traders like Barry Callebaut and Cargill, and you've got an oligopoly. A $100 billion industry controlled by a handful of companies, while farmers scrape by on less than $2 a day. It's not dysfunction. It's design. A few years ago, Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire tried to fight back. In 2019, they introduced the Living Income Differential, LEAD, a $400 per ton surcharge added to the price of cocoa exports. The idea was simple: give farmers a little more breathing room, a shot at escaping deep poverty. At first, it made headlines. Producers weren't begging, they were dictating terms. Finally, some muscle from the countries that supply the world's sweet tooth. But big cocoa is nothing if not creative. Instead of swallowing the cost, many corporations found workarounds, buying from futures exchanges in London and New York to dodge the surcharge, or offsetting the premium elsewhere in contracts. On paper, the $400 was there. On the ground, farmers barely felt the difference. Strip away the advertising gloss, and cocoa's supply chain hides some of the grimmest realities in global agriculture. Child labor is endemic. Studies estimate 1.5 million children work on cocoa farms in Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire. Some are farmers' own kids, roped in to help during harvests. Others are trafficked in from neighboring countries like Burkina Faso or Mali. Tasks include carrying heavy loads, wielding machetes, spraying pesticides. Work that leaves scars, sometimes literally. And there's deforestation. Côte d'Ivoire has lost more than 80% of its forest cover in the last half-century, much of it cleared for cocoa. Ghana is not far behind. As climate change shrinks viable cocoa-growing zones, farmers push further into forests just to maintain yields. And the paradox is brutal. The more they cut down trees, the less resilient cocoa becomes to the hotter, drier climate. The crop is, in a sense, sawing off the branch it sits on. Meanwhile, The chocolate industry's sustainability reports grow glossier each year. Lots of satellite monitoring, lots of QR codes, lots of commitments. But commitments don't pay school fees. Enter fair trade. The label has been around for decades, promising consumers that their coffee, bananas, or chocolate were sourced under fairer conditions. Farmers paid a minimum price, workers protected, communities invested in. In theory, fair trade cocoa should mean better incomes and fewer children in the fields. And there is some truth to that. Studies show fair trade cooperatives can give farmers a stronger collective voice, a bit more stability in income, and sometimes community projects, schools, clinics, wells, funded by fair trade premiums. It's a model that tries to rebalance the scales, however slightly. But fair trade is no panacea. For one thing, only a fraction of the world's cocoa is fair trade certified. Many farmers can't afford the costs of certification or don't have access to the cooperatives required. And even when they do, the premiums often aren't enough to lift families out of poverty. There is also the uncomfortable reality that fair trade has become a marketing tool as much as a development one. Supermarkets love the label because it makes shoppers feel virtuous. But the structural power imbalance, a handful of corporations controlling the market, remains firmly in place. Buying a fair trade bar might ease your conscience, but it doesn't overhaul the system. The European Union has decided to wield its regulatory muscle. New rules will soon require chocolate companies to prove their cocoa isn't linked to deforestation or human rights abuses. On paper, it's a big deal. Companies will have to trace supply chains more thoroughly than ever before. But here's the catch. The law guarantees living wages for formal employees, factory workers in Germany or Belgium, say, but not necessarily living incomes for farmers in Ghana. Once again, the legal protections stop short of the root problem: farmers earning too little to survive. Traceability may improve. Exploitation may simply become more sophisticated. So is there a way out? The answer might lie not in certification schemes or European rules, but in Africa itself. Both Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire have made moves to process more of their cocoa domestically. Instead of just exporting raw beans, they want to produce cocoa butter and powder, the building blocks of chocolate, and keep more value at home. Côte d'Ivoire already processes about 40% of its harvest locally, and the government has ambitions to climb higher. If successful, this could be a game changer. Imagine Abidjan not just as a place where beans are exported, but as a hub for chocolate manufacturing itself. Jobs would be created, industries built, and wealth would stick closer to where cocoa is grown. But it won't be easy. Processing plants require infrastructure, stable electricity, investment capital, and political will. And the multinationals that currently dominate the trade aren't exactly eager to hand over control. Still, if West Africa can capture even a slice more of the value chain, it might finally loosen the colonial grip. The harshest truth is that the chocolate industry's resilience rests on consumer denial. Most of us don't want to think about poverty or child labor when we buy chocolate. We want indulgence, nostalgia, sweetness. That's why the marketing works. A Ferrero Rocher commercial is about elegance and glittering parties, not about a farmer sweating in the Ivorian sun. Even fair trade, for all its merits, functions partly as an anesthetic, a way for Western consumers to keep buying without guilt. The labels soothe us, but they rarely fix the imbalance. And corporations know it. They count on our willful blindness. Chocolate is globalization's sweetest disguise. It's a comfort food for billions, a luxury for millions, and a fortune for a handful. But at its root, it's poverty for those who grow it. A system where farmers earn pennies while corporations rake in billions. Fair trade offers one path, imperfect but real, to push for better conditions. EU laws might close some loopholes. African processing might reclaim some value. But the fundamental structure remains. Cocoa farmers are still the invisible backbone of an industry that thrives on their invisibility. So the next time you unwrap a chocolate bar, take a moment. That smooth, sweet bite has a bitter edge. And until the industry and its consumers are willing to reckon with that, the people who made chocolate possible will remain stuck in the same trap they've been in for generations. Sweetness built on scarcity, luxury built on poverty. The world's favorite indulgence hiding its cruelest secret.